Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Now with today's main headlines. Saudi authorities behead 2 Shia citizens from Eastern Province. Holy shrines of Imam Hussein Abu Fadl al-Abbas preparing for morning of Ashura. Shia leaders in Pakistan's Parachina accuse Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan of igniting sectarian conflict. Heavy rain in Uttarakhand, India kills several people and damage infrastructure. Assalamu alaikum dear viewers, this is Hussein Jawad and you're watching Shia Waves live from Imam Hussein TV 3 in London. The Saudi authorities have executed 2 Shia citizens from the Eastern Province on accusations of shooting security personnel, possessing weapons and covering up armed men, as per the country's Ministry of Interior. The local media outlet said that the Saudi authorities beheaded today on Monday 2 Shia citizens from the Eastern Province who are Ali ibn Salih ibn Ahmed al-Jum'ah and Muslim ibn Hussein ibn Hassan al-Shaheen. The execution was carried out following a specialized court's decision to behead the 2 men and was confirmed by a royal order. The Saudi Ministry of Interior attributed and trumped up charges to the men, accusing them of attacking security personnel, possessing weapons to foment insecurity and cover up 2 men who had shot security men. The total executions since the beginning of 2023 have exceeded 60 people. 16 of them were Shia detainees and jailed on fake charges of joining terrorist groups. 2 of the 16 men executed were Bahrainis. The country's execution rate has almost doubled since 2021, according to human rights reports. And last year, the Saudi authorities executed 138 people, a record increase. It should be mentioned that the global human rights organizations and the American organization Freedom House ranked Saudi as the worst state in the world in political and religious freedoms. The shrines of the master and leader of the martyrs, Abu Abdullah and Al-Hussein, and the Honorable Abu Fadl al-Abbas are preparing of the morning of the month of Muharram and welcoming pilgrims, especially in Tasu'a and Ashura. For this purpose, all the necessary arrangements and preparations are being made in order to hold a magnificent morning ceremony and ziyarah for the devotees of Husseini shrine, especially the blood and sword mourning ceremony. Accordingly, the shrines of Imam Hussein Abu Fadl al-Abbas, peace be upon them, were furnished and decorated with red carpets for the morning of Ashura's morning and the Tatbir ceremony. Also, in the coming days, Bain al-Haramain, as well as inside premises of the shrines, will be covered up with red carpets, also creating sand ramps at entrances and covering the walls with plastic that will be carried out in the following days. A number of Shia leaders and clerics in the Parachina region of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province in Pakistan accused the Taliban movement in the country of fomenting conflict and fueling sectarianism in the region to create division between Shia and Sunni Muslims. This region, bordering Afghanistan, which is under the control of the gangs of Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, has experienced acts of sectarianism between Shias and Sunnis. The Shia clerics and leaders in the province have blamed the Taliban, which is fueling the war between the Shia and Sunni communities in order to gain more control over the region and take away its wealth, the Hindu Post newspaper reported. Due to the current crisis and the push of the terrorist movements towards sectarian fighting, this has led to the closure of main road linking the provincial capital Peshawar, in addition to shortages of food, medicine and fuel in the region. It added, the residents of Parachina condemned the actions of Shahbaz Sharif's government for not preventing terrorists who broke the border fence and entered their country to spread terror. destabilizing security and fan flames of sectarianism, the newspaper further said. The terrorists affiliated with Pakistan's Taliban and with the help of the government are trying to create a conflict between the Shia and Sunni communities in order to gain control of the area to be safe haven for them. A Shia leader named Shabir Sajjad was quoted as saying, "What is happening today in the region is not a sectarian conflict, as some are trying to explain, but a crisis created by the Taliban Pakistan in cooperation with the anti-Shia group Lashkar-e-Taliban with the aim of controlling their homes and property," he added. Sajjad called on the government to urgently intervene and send military forces to secure the area and expel the terrorists. Let's remind our respected viewers of today's headlines. Saudi authorities behead the 2 Shia citizens from Eastern Province. Holy shrines of Imam Hussein and Abu Fadl al-Abbas preparing for the morning of Ashura. Shia leaders in Pakistan's Parachina accused Tehreek-e-Taliban, Pakistan, of igniting sectarian conflict. Also tonight, Shia Rights Watch calls on Saudi authorities to stop anti-Shia violations. Uttarakhand in northern India has been experiencing heavy rainfall, resulting in contrasting effects. The region has witnessed landslides triggered by the incessant downpours. The landslides have caused significant damage to the infrastructure, including roads and buildings, and disrupting normal life in the affected areas. The state government and the local authorities are actively engaged in clearing the debris and restoring connectivity. Rescue and relief operations are underway to assist those affected and to ensure their safety. Meanwhile, there is some respite as the water level of the Yamuna River in North India has receded. Due to a decline in rainfall in the catchment areas, the water level of the river has decreased. This decrease brings relief to the regions along its banks, reducing the risk of floods and potential damage to the infrastructure near the river banks. Precautionary measures have been put in place to mitigate risks associated with the heavy rainfall. In Uttarakhand, authorities have issued advisories urging people to stay away from vulnerable areas and not to venture into the mountains during this period. And now we continue with some short news. With the ongoing ban on girls' education in Afghanistan, women students in the country have reiterated their request for the Taliban to reopen schools, a news agency reported. Afghan women called on the ruling authorities a number of times to let them resume their educational courses, but their demands were in vain. This call comes after 660 days after the closure of schools for girls and from grade 7 to 12 in Afghanistan. It should be mentioned that the Taliban's policies of restricting women from public life, including from education and work, have sparked reactions at international levels. The UN Children's Agency, UNICEF, reports that 2 children drown on average per day while trying to cross the central Mediterranean, due to the lack of safe and legal routes and absence of robust search and rescue capacities to protect them. The number of children lost to migration attempts has doubled since last year, driven by conflicts in Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, West Africa and Afghanistan, the report adds. In the first 6 months of 2023, 289 children died, equivalent to 11 children dying every week. According to Verena Naus, the UNICEF's global chief on migration and displacement, Naus also said the number of children making the crossing alone has tripled compared to last year. The mourning tent of the master and leader of the martyrs Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, peace be upon him, was erected on the occasion of the holy month of Muharram 1445 in the city of Sydney, Australia. It should be mentioned that this mourning tent was erected by the efforts of the members of the Al Yasin Mosque and Husseiniya from the centres affiliated to the Office of the Supreme Authority, Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq al-Hussein al-Shirazi in Sydney, Australia. At least 4,000 people have been forced out of homes due to a forest fire on the island of La Palma in the southwest of Spain. The ongoing blaze broke out on July the 14th and has so far ravaged more than 5,000 hectares, 12,355 acres of woodland, leaving 13 houses uninhabitable. Firefighting efforts involved over 400 personnel, including 100 soldiers on the ground, as well as 13 aircrafts. However, the fire has not been yet brought under control. It should be mentioned that Spain experienced 15 major forest fires in the first half of the year. The United Nations Human Rights Council has approved a resolution in which the international community is asked to adopt protective and monitoring measures against the expansion of the use of artificial intelligence. The resolution emphasizes the necessity of transparency of artificial intelligence systems. The UN Human Rights Council has also called for the collection, use, sharing, archiving and deletion of AI data in accordance with the Human Rights Complaint Mechanism. The Council has previously addressed the issue of new technologies, but this is the first time that it has specifically commented on artificial intelligence and its use. The Shia Rights Watch (SRW), a non-profit NGO that defends the rights of Shias around the world, has called on the Saudi authorities to stop their new harassment campaign, which has launched target Shia citizens as the month of Muharram is drawing near. The organization said in a statement received by Shia Waves agency that it received authentic reports proving the return of the Saudi authorities' sectarianism-based policies by harassing Shia Muslims ahead of the month of Muharram, following a limited leeway on religious freedoms for the past months. The SRW expressed in the statement its deep dissatisfaction over these human rights violations, which contradicted the policy of moderation the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman announced. The organization called on the ruling regime to immediately stop these ill-considered measures, calling for more public and religious freedoms which do not violate local or international laws and maintain unity of the national social fabric. The supporters of the extremist group Bajrang Dal held a demonstration in the city of Aligarh in the state of Uttar Pradesh to demand reduction in the number of Muslims in India by holding a demonstration. The participants of this demonstration requested the teaching of Hindu religious books should be made mandatory in schools. They also requested laws to be passed to protect the Hindu population in this country. This extremist group has repeatedly taken measures in India to intimidate Indian Muslims and to request the adoption of laws regarding the population structure of this country. They claim that the increasing number of Muslims in India is a threat to Hindus. The threat to Indian Muslims continues under the shadow of the Bharatiya Janata Party government, which has been repeatedly accused of violating the rights of Muslims by some legal institutions. India has the largest Muslim community and the number of Muslims in this country is only increasing, said India's finance minister at an international conference in April 2022. However, in response to the statement of this official, the Indian site Outlook emphasized that only the quoted superstitions that have been published regarding the explosion of the number of Muslims in India. According to the report of this site, the increase in the number of Indian Muslims against Hindus is not possible under any circumstances. The Talented Nurturing Centre of one of the centres affiliated to the Misbah al-Hussein Foundation for Relief and Development has organised a cycling marathon in Iraq's capital, Baghdad. Amid a broad participation of young men, the event coincided with the celebrations of Greatest Eid al-Ghadir, which was held to encourage young talented people to develop their sports skills. The director of the foundation, Abdul Sahib al-Kishwan, said in a statement to Shia Waves agency that the foundation, through its Talented Nurturing Centre, held the Ghadir Marathon for cycling to celebrate this blessed event and to encourage youth people to develop their skills. This is the second sports activity the Misbah al-Hussein Foundation organises following a football competition between Babylonians, pioneers and Iraq's actors in support of its humanitarian project, the Charter on Protecting Iraq's Orphans. He concluded that such activities are carried out in accordance with the teachings of Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, and the directives of Grand Ayatollah Shirazi to help the young people develop their talents and skills. We have reached the end of today's Shia Waves show. Let's remind our dear viewers of today's headlines. Saudi authorities behead 2 Shia citizens from Eastern Province. Holy shrines of Imam Hussein and Abu Fadl al-Abbas preparing for the mourning period on morning of Ashura. Shia leaders in Pakistan's Parachina accuse Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan of igniting sectarian conflict. Heavy rain in Uttarakhand, India, kills several people and damage infrastructure. Shia Rights Watch calls on Saudi authorities to stop anti-Shia violations. Hindus demonstration to demand reduction of numbers of Muslims in India. Misbah al-Hussein Foundation organizes Eid al-Ghadir cycling marathon in Baghdad, Iraq. You can view the latest news on our Shia Waves website, and you can send news of your city or country to be published on our news agency. Contact us on the numbers at the bottom of the screen. This is the end of today's news. Thank you very much for watching. We pray to Allah Almighty to hasten the reappearance of the Master of our time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
This Muharram, Imam Hussein TV invites you for the journey of a lifetime. Wherever you may be in this world, experience the sound of Azaa, the sight of the golden domes, and the energy of